The penultimate week of the regular season is upon us as the Dallas Cowboys enter Week 17 in a division matchup with the Philadelphia Eagles. Welcome into Special Edition from the Star in Frisco with Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton. I'm Kyle Yeomans. The entire crew is back and ready to rock for you. The Cowboys were ready for their matchup with Tampa Bay last week. Despite being eliminated from playoff contention, they take a win from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 26-24. It has a lot of individuals excited about what the future looks like for this Cowboys team. The depth starting to show up. Barry, what has you most excited about this Cowboys bunch?
Well, I got to be honest, Kyle. When I look at this Cowboys team, what excites me the most is the fight that they have amongst each other out there. I mean, this is a team that could have threw in the towel weeks ago when they lost Dak Prescott, or they could have thrown in the towel when they lost that gut-wrencher to the Cincinnati Bengals, and basically their playoff hopes were done. But they continue to fight for the names on the back of their jerseys and the coaching staff as well. So to me, if they continue that fight into next season and have that same mentality, this team will just be fine.
Yeah, I agree with you, Barry. And on top of that, I like seeing the execution of guys that you, have been waiting on, guys like Mozzie Smith, who were high draft picks. Marshawn Nealon showed up. And then unexpected guys like Nick Vigil showed up last week in a major way. So the guys that needed to show up and guys that were unexpected are now all contributing to the success that you're having on both sides of the ball.
Just the way this young defenses came together with all the injuries and Chauncey Golson has did it. Like you say, Mozzie has did it. I like the way Zim has found the pieces, put them together, and everybody's playing well.
Well, that's the thing. This defense has gotten better and better as the years have gone on. They had two key turnovers in the fourth quarter of that game against Tampa Bay, a Jordan Lewis interception at the goal line, and then Deron Bland ripping the football free, taking that final chance for Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay to make it a game late away with that forced fumble and recovery. What's been the most impressive side of this defense as this season goes on?
Just the way they've been able to, Al Harris has been able to bring these corners and put them in. And just each week we don't know who's that starting 3 to 4 guys going to be, but Al Harris has kept these guys together, man. And for Deron Bland to come back and be consistent, and J. Lou has always been consistent, that's been a great thing, I think.
Yeah, and the secondary is playing well because this defensive front is playing well. The front seven is absolutely getting after the quarterback. You got guys like Carl Lawson. You got guys like Maris Leofau that likes to just punch the ball out seemingly every week. These guys are being aggressive up front, and they're getting to the ball, and they're being violent when they do.
Yeah, we talked about it pretty much the entire season. When you win the turnover battle, you win the football game. And that's exactly what this defense has been able to do. I mean, they're hungry out there, whether it's Deron Bland stripping the running back to seal the game, or it's Jordan Lewis making an incredible interception at the goal line to get the ball back for their offense. They're taking the football away, and this defense has gotten better and better as the weeks progressed.
No doubt about it, and that's why the Cowboys have won 4 of their last 5 games. However, they were eliminated from playoff contention with the win for Washington over Philadelphia this past week, meaning there's a reality to the situation whenever it comes to this coaching staff, this front office, and the future. Jerry Jones talked about that on 105.3 The Fan earlier this week.
Well, I think that just the reality was there. It was in the room. It was right there. We weren't going to be able to advance into the playoffs. And that's a primary goal of the team. And when the reality of it soaked in, you mean there's no way, there's not a 1% way, that type of thinking. And I really was, it was just noted that you could cut it with a knife in our private conversation that we were having. And so that's bucking up. But the big thing is it transferred over to those players.
That's the case for Jerry Jones and company. Is now that's the realistic thought process of what is the future for Mike McCarthy, because McCarthy, as the head coach in Dallas, did not have the playoff success. Did he have the success moving forward as your head coach? That's going to be the biggest question. Isaiah, what's the future hold for this coaching staff?
There's a lot of questions around it. I think that Coach McCarthy is going to come back. I can't foresee this organization going in another direction, or A, hiring somebody who's never done it before, or B, going back and grabbing somebody who's failed somewhere previously. I think what Coach McCarthy has shown over his extended stay here has been great. Obviously, he had the 2020 season, that was kind of the COVID year, and then he's had this year where he had susceptible to a lot of injuries. Outside of that, he's had nothing but winning records. Yeah, you want to see him in the playoffs do better, but you got to get to the playoffs first. close.
Yeah, without a doubt. Mike McCarthy is a heck of a football coach out there. I mean, he's lost his franchise quarterbacks twice, within the seasons that he's been coaching here. Not only that, this team could have been given up, like I talked about, thrown in the towel, but they haven't. They continue to fight for the coach, run through the brick wall for a coach. And to me, that's one of the biggest things you have to be as a head coach, being able to lead men out there. And these guys are fighting for him. He has not lost that locker room. So to me, I don't know the future, but Mike McCarthy is a heck of a coach, and I know the players would love to have him back.
That's going to be the case moving forward. The players have responded, the 4 wins in the last 5 games, and then, of course, you see really the thought process of what he's done in 12-5 each of the last 3 years. It all means something. Is it enough to overcome the 1-3 record in the playoffs? When we come back here on Special Edition, we've got a great show for you today. Saquon Barkley's been on an absolute tear in Philadelphia. Isaiah Stanback will break down the film of how Dallas can continue their stuff of the run defense as of late. And then Jalen Hurts banged up last week. Will he be available for the Cowboys and Eagles this week on Sunday afternoon?
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Reliant, official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys. Blockchain.com, invest like your icons with Blockchain.com. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas.
The last time the Dallas Cowboys played the Philadelphia Eagles, it was on a primetime day where the Cowboys ended up with 45 passing yards. Did not go well for Dallas the first time around. However, this team from the Eagles, they've seen a step back, probably. Not so much. They're the second seed currently in the NFC Playoff Picture. Let's start with Jalen Hurts. A little banged up. He's in concussion protocol this week, but we still have to talk about what he means to this football team. Barry, what does Jalen Hurts do well?
For me, I think he's the glue that keeps this whole offense together. We understand what they bring with the rushing attack with Saquon Barkley and the weapons they have on the outside, but this is a guy who's able to drive the bus extremely well and be able to go out there and distribute the football to everybody, all right? You got some diva wide receivers on the outside, but he's able to keep everybody happy with distributing the football. They understand that they got a heck of a lineup out there offensively for the weapons on the outside, but to me, the glue piece is Jalen Hurts and what he's able to do offensively and push the ball down the field as well.
Well, I know Gorilla Glue is not a sponsor, but they're definitely Gorilla Glue. All right, yeah, this dude keeps everything together, but also he's versatile. And he keeps his offense spread open because of what he's capable of doing. You have to respect him in the running game. You have to respect him in the zone read game, and he can get the ball down the field as well. He checks all the boxes and allows for his guys to make plays.
He went 1 of 4 passing in that game against the Commanders last week before Kenny Pickett came into the fold. Pickett filling in that spot at the quarterback position. Of course, a former first-round pick for Pittsburgh, making the jump to Philadelphia, staying in state. He looked decent in that matchup against the Commanders, but ultimately ended up on the losing side of things. He's questionable this week with a rib injury. So who will be at quarterback? We really don't know between Jalen Hurts and Kenny Pickett, but one of those two guys will be behind center for Philadelphia. But it doesn't really matter who's playing quarterback as much when you got a guy like Saquon Barkley who's running at such a high level. Saquon with nearly 2,000 yards this year. Nate, what has been so special about his season?
But he's been healthy the whole year, and when this cat is healthy and that offensive line is rolling, he's the heart and soul. Now, he may be not the glue like this other guy, Jalen Hurts, but he's the heart and soul of this team. And I tell you what, man, he's increased their time possession by 3 minutes. They're averaging around about 32, 35 minutes per game of time possession. He is the reason why.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley is a beast. I've said it many times on this show. He's the reincarnation of Barry Sanders, and that's exactly what he is. But imagine Barry Sanders behind an offensive line, and this is exactly what you get. That guy right there on your screen.
And remember, Kenneth Gainwell also very good in that Eagles rushing attack. They lead the league in yards per game. But they also have some weapons outside, Barry. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You got to keep an eye on them, too.
Oh, you got to. And if I play safety, I would be nervous in this game because when you look at it, it's hard to focus on one guy. You say, let me take take away A.J. Brown, you still got a guy, Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith, who can take it over the top as well as take a 5-yard slant 50 yards. And then you think, all right, we're going to play 2 high safeties and let our linebackers just handle Dallas Goedert. That would be a mistake as well. This guy is a mismatch nightmare out there. And like I said earlier, Jalen Hurts is the glue that brings all that together. So as a defense, you got a multitude of problems. You got to try to figure it out.
And their defense also leads the NFL in terms of total defense, Nate. What do they bring up front?
They got a dude named Jalen, man, that's real big, number 98. This guy can ball. He clogs up the middle. Zach Bond. And this other guy that Isaiah loves real well.
Dean.
Yeah, he loves
Kobe
him.
Dean.
But I tell you what, they are great together. This team, that is the glue on defense that makes this thing work.
Yeah, number 1 in total offense, number 1 in total defense as well, entering Week 17. This is a good roster, let us remind you. But the leader of that roster, Saquon Barkley, in the ground game. When we come back, Isaiah Stanback goes to the film room. He's going to break down how the Cowboys can continue to defend the run at a high level.
This segment was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. This segment is brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
All right, we already outlined some of the weapons from the Philadelphia Eagles. They have options on that offense. Former Cowboys offensive coordinator, current Eagles offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore has some options. Isaiah Stanback, I want you to take me through the run game. Saquon Barkley on pace for over 2,000 yards this season. 17-game year or not, that's impressive. What do you have to be aware of with this Philadelphia defense?
Well, you have to be disciplined. First thing is you have to take away options, right? We know that Saquon Barkley will take it in between the tackles. He'll also take it outside the tackles. And a lot of his big splash plays come when guys are not disciplined and want to play hero ball. Do what coach is teaching you to do, and everything will be okay. Let me show you guys an example of last week of Saquon Barkley versus the Washington Commanders where things were not okay. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is going to be back here in the backfield. Okay, what do they do right off the back? Well, right off the back, I want you guys to see these guys come up, and these guys they're trying to get outside. They're trying to shoot the gap. But what ends up happening is I let this thing play out, boom, bad things happen. This guy gets kicked out. This guy gets walled in. This guy gets walled in. And these guys, for whatever reason, are going backwards, and they're hanging back here when they should be doing what? They should be coming downhill, screaming down here because it's who? It's Saquon Barkley. What ends up happening when these guys get kicked out, you get walled in? Well, there's going to be a lane, and Saquon Barkley sees that lane, and he's going to try to shoot this gap right here. Boom, shoots it early. Again, those guys in the secondary decide to not come downhill, and when you decide to go backwards against Saquon Barkley, he's going to run right by you. Can't do that. You've got to be able to come up there and fill the run gap so that you can stop him from having those big splash plays.
So is that just a lack of awareness out of the secondary and just a late read? Is that all that turns into at that point?
You know what? At that point, you have to just make a decision to be decisive, right? So there's not only as you talk about angles, you start talking about not getting kicked out. You have to make sure that when you do your job and create that leverage and protect that leverage, the other guys have to come do their job and take away those running lanes.
What about Dallas and what they've done on defense over the last few weeks? The run games looked better.
Yeah.
Have they been decisive and downhill and doing their job?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's buying into the Mike Zimmer system, right? We talked about it early in the year, and it just wasn't working great. Now guys are starting to seemingly figure it out, and it's really starting with these guys up front. You have 5 offensive linemen up here who want to come up here and block your defensive line, right? So these 5 guys are trying to be responsible for that. You insert a tight end. Now you have 6 blockers to block your 4 D linemen. How do you change the odds right there? Well, you can say, Marshawn Nealon, I need you to split the difference between these 2 guys up front. I want you to take 2 defenders. Well, what about the next guy? How about Mozzie? Mozzie, I want you to do the same thing. I want you to come up there, and I want you to take 2 defenders away. And when you do that, now all of a sudden the numbers are in your favor. Let's see it play out. All right? Boom, boom, boom. You see you walk around. KJ Lou, yes, thank you very much. Ball is going to be snapped here. Boom. We talked about it right there. Split. All these guys are in the gaps. They're being taught to take 2. Why are they being taught to take 2? Because when these other guys are going to be accounted for, who is now free? The offensive lineman can't come up here and get Nick Vigil. The offensive lineman can't get up here and get Maris Liufau. And these guys are able to be decisive at the second level and come downhill, boom, come up in big plays because the offensive linemen are being accounted for by our defensive linemen.
So when you hear the scouting term, whether it's draft season or free agent season, you say that's a 2-gap player on the defensive line. That's what that means, the ability to take up 2 defenders and clear things out at the second level for your defense. Now, I want to see another example of this, but the way that you're able to set the edge, too, is extremely important in Mike Zimmer's system. You've had a couple guys do that really well recently.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it starts with the guys up front, okay? As we're going to see here, I want you guys to pay attention to one particular guy, Marshawn Nealon. Marshawn Nealon's going to do a really good job of getting vertical, right? When we say vertical, we mean we want you to push this guy onto that side of the line of scrimmage. And when you do that, you have other guys like your cornerback, Jordan Lewis, who is going to be decisive. He's not afraid to put his hat in there and get physical. All right, boom. That should have been a false start, but it wasn't. They pointed it out. Boom, right now, look at the leverage that we're playing with. Marshawn Nealon, again, the line of scrimmage is where? Line of scrimmage is right back here. Where's Marshawn Nealon? Marshawn Nealon's pushing his guy all the way in the backfield. Okay, let's look at everybody else. You got big fella up front, okay? He's going to be doing a good job of taking that away. Nick Vigil's eyes are where? Boom, right here in this gap. That is not an option for you. So as a running back, you're trying to come up here and fill this. I can't go there, so I'm going to go out here. Okay, that sounds like a good idea until you know that there's a guy by the name of Jordan Lewis who is not afraid of the smoke. Jay Luke does this, comes in here, jab steps, comes around, and then shoots the gap without hesitation and is able to bring this running back, boom, down right there in the backfield for a loss. That is what the Mike Zimmer system is allowing for. When these guys all do their job and they execute, good things happen. You have to be sound. You have to be disciplined if you want to even think about shutting down Mr. Saquon Barkley.
Number 1 offense in the league in terms of total yardage, and a big reason is the balance that they have. They're top 10 in both rushing and passing yards per game. Saquon Barkley off to a great start. You got to be disciplined. Yeah. You got to be decisive at the same time. It's going to be a tough matchup for Mike Zimmer's defense this week. When we come back on Special Edition, the Eagles are certainly a team at the top of the NFC picture, but are the Lions the team to beat in the conference? We'll go around the NFC right after this.
This segment was brought to you by the NFL Fan of the Year, presented by Captain Morgan.
Welcome back into Special Edition. 2 weeks left in the NFL schedule, and this is what the NFC Playoff Picture looks like. The 4 teams on the left-hand side have all clinched a playoff spot, still in the hunt and in the wild card spot. The Rams, the Falcons, the Commanders leading the way, with Tampa Bay and Seattle close behind. But I want to talk about the favorites in the NFC. There are a lot of great teams in this conference. Cowboys, of course, eliminated from contention. But Nate, I'll start with you. Who do you have your eyes on going into the playoffs?
Green Bay. You got to watch out for them there. But they've got 11 wins. The Jordan Love. You talked about it last year, Barry. This kid is on the rise. They went out and got Josh Jacobs, a do-all running back. Man, Green Bay is going to be scary.
Yeah, they got Josh Jacobs and Jordan Love, but they don't have Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley. And Dallas is about to get a little bit of taste of that this week, obviously. These guys are real top offense, top defense. They're an absolute problem personnel-wise. They're a matchup nightmare for anybody.
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Detroit. And I understand you lost a lot of weapons defensively on that side of the football, but you got the best offensive coordinator in the game right now in Ben Johnson. You got one of the best running backs in the game in Gibbs. You got Amon St. Brown and a guy that brings it all together. I'm talking about Jared Goff. So to me, their offense is so spectacular that they can stand some losses on the defensive side of the ball. To me, the Detroit Lions got to be the favorite.
I feel like there's always a little bit of a Cinderella story out of the wild card, too. Watch out for Dan Quinn's Commanders. Cowboys will see them next week, but they're closing in on double-digit wins. If they get the right route and get the right type of play
over the
down
Rams?
the stretch, it could be interesting.
Ooh, okay.
Could be interesting. Just to keep an eye on them. Keep an eye on them. When we come back, will CeeDee Lamb be available for the Cowboys? That is a big question going into the week, dealing with that AC joint sprain, and could he be a key to the Cowboys upsetting the Eagles this week?
Closed captioning is brought to you by the Texas Lottery. Cowboys scratch tickets from the Texas Lottery are here. Play today. And to watch more Dallas Cowboys content on your connected TV, download the Cowboys Now app on Amazon Fire, Roku, and Apple TV. Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by your North Texas Ford dealers. Ford is the best in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, definitely. I think each week we go out there, find ways to get better, find ways to pass the ball around, get touches to everybody. So we're out there having fun, you know, playing for each other, playing for our brothers, and it's paying off for us.
Jalen Tolbert excited about the opportunity against the Eagles this week. Barry, one word, key to the game this week.
Turnovers.
Pressure.
More turnovers.
And who gets the win, Nate?
Us by 1 turnover.
Cowboys by 1 turnover. I love it. Thanks for joining us here on Special Edition. For Isaiah, Barry, Nate, I'm Kyle Yeomans. We'll see you next week.